sunana Suleiman Ismail kuma ni ne zan zama instructor ɗinku a cikin wannan CSS course ɗin. Last series course inda muka yi magana akan HTML, inda muka ɗauke ku ga basic of HTML zuwa an advanced level of HTML. Mun yi build ɗin website using HTML solely a cikin previous tutorial ɗinmu. A wannan tutorial ɗinmu za mu magana akan CSS kuma za mu ɗauke ku daga basic of CSS zuwa advanced level of CSS. A cikin wannan series in za mu riƙa yin project kuma za mu riƙa yin ba da example akan kowane concept ɗin da muka karanta. So ku biyo mu a cikin wannan series in domin ku koya basic of CSS zuwa advanced level of CSS. Kafin mu je ko ina ya kamata mai magana akan introduction akan shi CSS, me amfani ne kuma me za mu yi a kai ne. So a wannan video ɗin za mu magana akan haka. So firstly, meaning din shi CSS ko me definition in CSS. Idan kuka gani a stem ɗina, CSS mean cascading style sheet, wanda language ne ba language ba ne wanda ake amfani da shi is a styling sheet language. Kamar yadda kuka gani, is a styling sheet language used for describing the presentation of document written in HTML or XML. So basically, yadda muka magana akan a last series in tutorial mu, yadda muka cewa muna amfani da CSS ne domin mu style din shi HTML din, kuma HTML din shine kaman ƙasusuwan jikinmu, shine skeleton din whatever design din da za mu yi. So shine shi kuma CSS din yana muna amfani da shi ne domin mu style din duk abun da muka yi, ko ba haka ba. So main purpose ne CSS allow web developers to control the layers, appearance, and formatting of multiple layers. Basically, yana ƙara cewa, okay, look, we are trying to design the web, right? We are trying to control the layers. Idan muke son layers din mu su fito a website din mu. So next za mu yi magana akan what are the basic syntaxes in shi yadda za mu yi rubuta shi CSS, and it's really important. Idan kana da wannan basic knowledge in akan yadda syntax in yake amfani, it will be very easy for you to write CSS. So these are the rules. It contains selectors, and there is two major syntaxes or major syntax wanda ake amfani da shi. Farko shine selectors, and that is declaration block. So selectors is a specific specialized which is used in CSS to style HTML element. Basically, idan kuka gani a cikin wannan example ɗina, ko kun ga cewa a nan ne muna da selectors, kuma zan ba ku a more elaborate what do you call it, explanation about, example about wannan. So first element in wannan zai zama selectors, which kamar example idan muna son mu yi selecting din wani element, maybe we want to select a H1 or a P, which is a paragraph element, which we have done in our, what do you call it, HTML class. Okay, so for example, paragraph element, we want to select it. So secondly, what is the property? What do we want to do? For example, okay, we select P element. Then what? The property will stand for like color. Which do we want to color it? Do we want to style it? Okay, then our property will be like color. If you want to color it, we select color here. Then what? What is the value? The value will be which type of color do we want. So basically, this is the basic syntax of of she CSS. So bancin haka nan, let's talk about she selectors in a more elaborate thing. So we have the different type of select. Go back about. We have target, we have element selector, we have class selector, we have what do you call it, ID selectors, we have attribute selector. We're in selectors, and I have talked about them in our HTML class, HTML series and modem. Okay, anama it's coming. Kuma, you have to understand selectors are basic copy mark para amfani da CSS. Idan ba haka ba, it will be a really big mess. But I can understand them gaba ɗaya abin da za ka yi. Okay, saboda we have to be using those selector to style our shit, to style our HTML ko ba haka ba. So me amfani shi element selector. Element selector target HTML element by their tag name, right? It target them by the tag name. For example, idan muna da kaman suna kawai we just have to write the name, okay, P, then we just give the curly braces and it will be able to target them. Then class selectors, we have to use dot in order to what do you call it, to target those. Let me give an example about that. So this is an example of about the one. So you see, this is an element selector, right? There's an element selector and there's a class selector and uh this is the ID selector. So what is different between them? In the element selector, we just call the name of the mun kira sunan elements in, which is the p tag, which is a p tag. P tag means p tag name, which is the paragraph tab anan ne. So ga wannan shine p tag, which is the, which anan shine selector din mu. Anan wannan color din shine property din mu, while wannan shine value din mu. Anan ko ga to this is how you declare a element selector in HTML. Then akwai class selector. This is a highlight. Muna highlighting din gaba ɗaya wani section din ko wani class din muke son wannan daga muna amfani kamar yanzu akwai wani abu wanda muke declaring din ne, maybe div mun sashi a cikin wani div class, maybe mun yi magana akan classes a cikin HTML din series din mu. So idan kai creating din class ɗinka kai amfani da div ɗinka, div element ɗinka, so zaka kira you called it, zaka yi amfani da dot element domin ka kira shi, which is an highlight. Kamar yanzu, this is an example. You call this is a highlight, then you want to highlight a certain thing. You want to color, you want to change the background with certain. This is a highlight. Then you move here, kaga zaka changing background color, and this is another thing from the syntax. This is the property and this is the value as well. And this is the last thing, which is the ID select. Me ID selector, for example, you want to color a specific thing, only one thing. Only one thing kake son ka canza. Ko yana son ka mai wani styling abu guda. So maybe it's going to be header. So za ka yi amfani da hash, then ka kira ka rubuta sunan abin da kake son ka yi, kai styling, then shi wannan font, kuma yanzu maybe kana son ka canza font ɗin ko whatever it is kake son ka yi. So sai ka wannan sai ka bada wannan me suna ne, sai ka kira wannan property din, then wannan value din, which is the value din da ke son ka canza. So let's move on and let's talk about declaration and syntax. Wa'incan we are still on that, talking about the syntaxes in da muke da su cikin wannan. So kun ga har a yanzu we are talking about the property the purpose, which is like, look, we have to use the selectors and the property and the, what do you call it, the value. Ko ananya. Declaration format shine property follow by a colon, then a value, and end with a colon. So basically, me anan shine wa'innan collaborators in. Shine, you have to follow this. You have to follow this while declaring a declaration syntax ne, basically. Idan kana son kai declaring din kowane abu, you have to follow this kind of thing. If you want to declare majority, if you want to give a certain thing a lot of structure. For example, yanzu kana son ka yi amfani da ID selector. Idan ka yi amfani da ID selector ɗinka, ka hashtag ɗinka, sai ka gaba ɗaya duk property, duk abin da kake son yayi, kana son ka in wannan elements in guda, kana son ka canza mai background color, kana son ka canza font size in, kana son ka canza whatever element, whatever thing kake son ka canza a ciki ne, za ka yi ka canza haka. So this is a declaration syntax. Now moving on to the HTML CSS comment. It's such an important thing that we have to talk about comment, because idan ka samu wayannan basics in, it will be really easy for you to go with, or idan ka ga wani abu new, it won't be hard for you. So wayannan shine comment. Idan kana son kai commenting, kuma me comment? Basically, comment is just an explanation in a code which is inserted, and that comment is not valid, it's not a code. We write it as a we use comment to comment out things, and we use comment to just signify, okay, this is what we are doing in this. And I think I have talked about comment in our HTML series also. But anama kaga, we have comment, which if you want to declare a comment, you have to use this format. This is a box format, and this is how you declare comment. Basically, when a CSS, you have to use slash then star slash. You have to follow this format. Idan ba haka ba zai yi ba. Then idan zaka wannan zaka close din wannan ɗinka din comments ɗinka, you have to use this, and it's such an important thing. You have to use it. Idan ba haka ba zai yi ba. So then now moving out to muna nan a cikin introduction in CSS, sai mu yi magana akan box model. What are the box model? Me ake ce ma box model. Box model, basically, those are those things that muna amfani da su. Those are elements wanda muke amfani da su domin mu style din box ɗinmu, and those are one of the basic things in da ake amfani da su. You said Ananya, box model describe the layout of HTML element in terms of margin, border, padding, and content. Basically, concern me ake ce ma margin. We have the margin, a margin of a certain thing. Then we have border. Abun da ke bordering in one abu, we have a specific border. And I think I have spoke about this in our HTML series. So idan ba ku kalli ba ku following on with our HTML series, but definitely you have to go and follow it up in order for you to give a very good explanation or a very good understanding of whatever I'm talking about. Right? And so idan kun yi shi CSS box model, kaga shine content. For example, the actual content of the element, shine content in the cikin element in the. For example, we want to display our content in a certain header, right, or in a certain box, which maybe we can do by creating the width and the breadth of that border by bordering it, basically. So the content inside it is the content, while this padding is like the paddings wanda muke amfani da shi, like we want the gap kamar yadda kaga yadda yake cewa, okay, the space between content and the border, the space between content and the border. So kunga su ake ce ma padding, shi ake ce ma padding, the space between content and the border. Then we have border surrounding of the padding. Basically, shine surrounding in whatever you want to do. Akwai wani element, akwai wani abu, akwai wani page, muna da border. Idan ka rubuta p tag, idan ka rubuta wannan paragraph tag, kana aika sa mai border, kana aika sa mai padding, kana aika padding ne, basically haka. Then what is margin? Space outside the border. Okay, space outside the border. Wannan shine like space in the akwai outside the border. Understanding kuma yadda kaga abin da nake cewa, as always, as I say, understanding box model is a crucial for laying out and positioning in HTML. It's such a really important thing that you have to understand. And this is how muka kawo ƙarshen wannan video din. A next video din mu za mu magana kan yadda za mu yi setting up, da za mu yi setting up din IDE din mu, which is the environment da za mu rinka rubuta code din mu na HTML if this is your first time following CSS. And sai na gan ku.